All right, welcome everybody. This is Anthony Russamano. I'm with Futureology. For those who do not know, we are CUSD's College and Career Counseling Program. That's a free service for all CUSD students. And again, I'm Anthony, I'm the coordinator, and tonight I'll be running our webinar. It's called PSAT Orientation. Don't worry, you're ready. And really all it is tonight is, especially for those who have never taken the PSAT or you're unfamiliar with it, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of what to expect. Hopefully I'll alleviate some of your fears, and we'll spend about 30 to 40 minutes talking about it and answering some of your questions and then send you on your way. As I mentioned, this will be recorded tonight, so if you miss anything or I said anything you want to watch back, I'll put it on our website. That's CUSD-Futureology.org. Under the locker, the resource locker, there's a tab on there. My email is on the board here, and I will share that with you. If you have any additional questions after the session tonight, feel free to reach out down here at the bottom, ajrussamano@capousd.org. Our program, Futureology, is for the district. I am an employee of the district. And so I don't forget, please follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, whichever one you have, at CUSD Futureology. I provide a lot of tips. Today I gave you a testing tip when you're taking a test. So every Tuesday I do that. On Wednesdays I give you some advice. Fridays I give you information about colleges. So start following me. I just started it. Hopefully I'll get a lot more followers. So with that said, a little housekeeping. So let me kind of take you through some housekeeping items before we get started. One of those are, for those of you, again, new to our program, we offer one-on-one counseling sessions in the mall in the evenings. And we also do group workshops like this, web-based. We also do them in person. So those who are going to become seniors, we have a workshop tomorrow night on filling out the UC application. So some of you younger students here, you might not have as many workshops because maybe you're not in the thick of it. For my juniors and seniors, you'll probably have a lot more offerings for you, okay? And then where you sign up for an event or a one-on-one counseling session is right down here at the bottom. It's a long one, so I'm not gonna say it, okay? Also, for questions tonight, if you can ask in the Q&A section. Some of you who've been to a webinar before, you kind of already know the drill, but there's a Q&A section top left. Just click on that, ask your question there. It allows me to log the questions asked, as well as to let myself know that I answered them. You can make comments in the chat area, such as, oh, hey, I can hear you, or your sound is going off, or your New Jersey accent is getting really thick tonight. So that's where you can make those comments. And hopefully all the other things right now, I know people are raising their hands. If you have a question when you raise your hand, or a comment, make a comment. If you have a question, ask it in the Q&A. We also will be doing some polling, which is pretty simple. I'll send you a poll, and I'm going to do one now. Ask you a few questions, and then please answer those questions by just clicking on that, and I'm able to get a sense of your answers and the audience that I have. So with that said, I'm going to launch my first poll. I just want to get a sense of the room that I have here, okay? So, and the first one is just what grade you're in, if you're a student or if you're the parent and your child that you're representing. So if you can just answer that question real quickly. I want to get a sense of my room so I can talk directly to you. Okay, mainly freshmen, grade, and sophomores. That's who I'm looking for. There's a few others, so I don't know if you're in college and you're just joining us for fun, or you're 8th grade probably. Okay, I will end the polling. This is kind of gives you a sense, everybody. We have mainly freshmen and sophomores, a few juniors. Well, that's good. Okay, I'm going to also now ask my next question, and that is, will this be your first time taking the PSAT? And then I noticed some of you might started following me from tonight. That's awesome. I love it on Twitter. Thank you, Audra. All right, so a lot of you first time taking a PSAT, great. For those who have taken it already, some of this information might not be new, okay, but you're more than welcome to hang out. I'm not going to be going over all the tips and strategies to getting a great PSAT score. That's not what this session is about. This is kind of to orient you to the PSAT. So again, for those who've taken it before, it's okay. You know, you might hear some things you might not already know, which is fine. And then I'm going to ask another one. Have you taken the SAT or the ACT for real, the actual test? So those who haven't taken the PSAT, I hope you haven't taken the SAT or ACT for real. For those who've taken the PSAT, I hope you haven't taken it for real either. Well, you could have, which is okay. Okay, so I have one person that have taken it too. Again, for those who have taken it, then you're pretty familiar with these exams. I'm not sure, again, I just want to set up your expectation that this session isn't necessarily for you getting a better score. It's just getting familiar with kind of the sections, what the PSAT is. So again, though you might want to attend my college fair session about getting a better test score and giving you some tips and strategies, or one of my prep rallies or boot camps that I host probably throughout the year, as opposed to this PSAT orientation. So again, just setting up that expectation for my few people. Okay. So again, most people have not taken it. Okay, that gives me a sense of the audience. I really appreciate it. All right. So, hey Jeff, how you doing? I see a question there. I will get on that in a second for you. So, okay. So, I'm just checking out the chats. Great, great. Hi, Anne-Marie. One of my academic advisors. Fantastic. Okay, guys. So again, thank you for the polls. We're going to get started then and kind of taking you through some of the information. One is just my usual did you know that the PSAT is just an assessment test that helps you prepare for the SAT, okay? A lot of you already know that. In our district at CUSD, it's available for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, okay? So all of you are eligible to take it. The district is covering the costs, which is fantastic. It's going to be Wednesday, October 11th. If you did not know, you should have gotten some information from your school. If you haven't heard about it, check in with your school. But all my freshmen, sophomore, and juniors will be taking this. For some of you, it might be your second or even possibly your third time taking it. Your scores will be scheduled to be available around December 12th online from the College Board, okay? So you'll take your test, but it won't be available to get your scores for a couple months. When you get your scores back, and we'll talk about that later, we'll have some opportunities for you to get information about how to read your report, what to do, next steps, and give you some insight into that. But that's not what this session is. It's just, again, an orientation for tonight, okay? Okay, so let's move on here. So the benefits of the PSAT, and again, I want to be really clear about this. Some of you might be nervous, especially my freshmen and sophomore that have never taken this exam before. Oh, what should I do? Should I really get ready for this? First of all, it's just a practice test, okay? It's under real-time conditions. So again, for students, it's a little nerve-wracking. Again, but it's a low-stakes first-time experience for you. And low stakes means it's not important right now. It's important that you take it so you get familiar with it, but more than anything, guys, it's an opportunity for you to take a practice test. Colleges are not going to see your results, okay? So don't worry about that. It's not going to factor in admissions. Even for my juniors, it will not factor for you in admissions at all, okay? So again, it has no relevance for anything but you understanding what you're up against, okay? So it's a baseline. It's a starting point, okay? So I want to make sure I'm clear about that. The mindset should be, okay, and I know it's hard to, it's easier to say it than to actually be that, and for my parents on board, I know your kids might stress, or you might even stress more than your kids about it, but again, relax. The mindset should be relax, It's just practice, okay? There's nothing more than that. For my freshmen and sophomores, there's nothing you need to do, and my juniors, nothing you need to do before you go in and take it. My juniors, and it's rare that anybody gets national merit, and I'll talk about that in a minute. You maybe do something for that, but there's only a handful of you in this whole district. So for the most part, it's just going in and taking it. And for my freshmen and sophomores, after you take it, there's nothing you need to do to get ready. It'll come in time. So again, the mindset is just go in and take it and see what comes of it, okay? It's going to help you prepare for the SAT. That's another benefit. It gives you early exposure, okay? And a lot of practice breeds familiarity, okay? That means the more you take a practice test or more you put yourself in this position, the more familiar you're going to be with an exam like this, okay? And historically, students who take the PSAT score about 145 points higher on average than those who do not take it. That's when they take the SAT. So the good news is the district is putting in some opportunities for you to get this practice, okay? The other great advantage of taking the PSAT is you're going to get Khan Academy practice. And some of you have used Khan Academy for academic work or even before high school. I know my son, who's 10, is using Khan Academy for a lot of different things. You're going to be able to get free personalized practice geared towards the SAT from your PSAT score. You'll be able to link your score and it'll give you something that, or a program that's applicable to where you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are. So that's another great advantage of that. You're going to get some college and career planning tools such as Road Trip Nation. And again, when we get your results in December and January, we'll be having opportunities for you to get information about that and how to use some of those tools. We're not going to do that tonight. For my juniors, you're entering the National Merit Scholarship Program. Okay, that's only for juniors. So my freshman and sophomore, you're not eligible just because you're just not at that age. But again, National Merit Scholarship Program, it's very rare that students get that. Less than 0.5% are even eligible. But it's an opportunity. And then there's the other part of it is you're getting AP Potential, which identifies you for some classes that you would take potentially at your school and you might be ready for. So it kind of just indicates some things for you. So again, another opportunity to learn some more about how can it apply to your schooling. Okay, so those are some of the benefits of the PSAT. I think really it's a great opportunity for everybody. So again, if it's offered at your school, and it is, you should go in and take it on October 11th. You shouldn't miss that day, okay? Do not recommend that, okay? So let's break down the PSAT, okay? Let's break it down. And I had a question already come in, and I'm going to go back to it. If a student rocks the PSAT, meaning does pretty well, should they go in and take the SAT? And it's a very good question. And rocks the PSAT, if that means you're getting a score you're happy with, or the score that's going to get you to the school you want to go to, then yes, you should just go in and take the SAT. So definitely something you can do. There's no need, if you're happy with that score, there's no need to rethink it and do it. Go take it while it's fresh in your mind and go get it done. So some students are going to know whether they're special interest groups, whether they're athletes, and they might have an idea of a school based on their level of play, or you've had a school on your mind all the time and you think, oh, that's the range I need to be in, then go in and take it, okay? All right, so let's break down the PSAT. There's going to be 3 testing areas, and a lot of you haven't taken it, so you haven't seen it. For those who've taken it already, you're pretty familiar with this. There's a reading, writing and language, and math sections, okay? All right, so within those sections, there's math has a separate section by itself. There's 2, a separate section score for that. And then the writing and language and reading combine what they call evidence-based reading and writing. It's one bigger section, okay? Now, my freshmen, you're gonna take the PSAT 8-9, okay? little bit lighter load for you, and the material isn't as expansive. And the rest of you, my 10th graders and 11th graders, you're going to take the regular PSAT, and then the NMSQT is National Merit. Okay. There's a different scoring scale, not to worry. Don't worry about the scoring scale. Again, when you get your results, we'll talk a little bit about it, but ideally, what they tell you on the scoring scale is whatever you score on this is what you would score on the SAT, okay? The SAT score is a little different, okay? And I'll show you that right here. So you'll see, I'm gonna get my little spotlight here. So here's the SAT. It goes out of actually 1,600, from 400 to 1,600. The PSAT 10 or the PSAT NMSQT for you guys, my 10th and 11th graders, it goes to 1,520, and the PSAT 8-9 goes to 1,440. But for example, if you score a 1,400 on the PSAT, a junior or a sophomore, that's what you would score, 1,400. So it's vertically aligned, what they say, meaning that what you score on your PSAT would match what you would score on your SAT, okay? And we'll talk more about this when it's interpretation night. Okay, so the scoring is a little different between my 9th graders and my olders. Okay, and then National Merit, again, for my juniors. What I would say for my juniors especially, don't obsess about it. Last year we had about 14 semifinalists in the district, which is actually quite a lot for a district. That doesn't mean you win. So you'll have to get a pretty high score. So don't obsess about it, okay? Do we have SAT for freshmen? Amy, I'm not sure what you mean by that question. So if you can be a little bit more clear. We're talking about the PSAT, so I don't know if you're talking about the PSAT, but SAT for freshmen, the SAT is one test for all. The PSAT is actually broken down. You have it 8th, 9th PSAT, and that's what we're giving the freshmen this year. Damien, it's going to happen at your school. The PSAT, guys, is going to be at your school. So if you go to Dana Hills, it's going to be at Dana Hills. You go to San Clemente, it's going to be at San Clemente. Okay, so you just show up on your school day, and they're going to kind of set you up. Okay. Now, I don't know what rooms or anything like that, but I mean, it's probably going to be all over the school because there's going to be a lot of you. All right. All right. How does the PSAT 8-9 differ from the regular PSAT? I'm just going to kind of talk about it just so you guys know. The PSAT 8-9 is 20 minutes shorter. So actually for my youngers, it's going to be a little bit shorter. Instead of 2 hours, 45 minutes, it's 2 hours, 25 minutes. Here's the number of questions you have. So as you look at this, okay, just get a sense of what you're talking about. So you're going to have 48 math questions on the PSAT. My freshman, you'll have 38. Okay, it's not a ton of questions we're talking about. It's going to take under 3 hours to test. Okay, you'll have 40 writing questions for my freshmen, 44 for my sophomores and juniors. Okay, so it just kind of gives you a sense of that. All right. Again, I don't want to spend too much time breaking it down, but I want to at least get you a sense of what you're going to be doing on that day. There's no essay, and that's one difference on your SAT. There's an optional essay, and a lot of kids choose to take that. So that adds another hour or so on actual test day, but you're only doing the PSAT, and that doesn't have an essay. Okay. So how does the PSAT differ from the SAT? Okay. So that's another something. For those of you, my juniors, it's going to be more in your forefront than my freshman and sophomore, because I don't want my freshman and sophomore, you guys, to do anything after you take it. For my juniors, you might be taking it this fall. I don't know. So again, you'll see a couple things that are different. And when I say the PSAT over here, we're talking about for 10th and 11th graders. Again, what you'll see is there's a little scoring difference. I mentioned the SAT is out of 1,600. The PSAT is out of 1,520. You also see the time and the question difference. So the SAT has more questions and a little bit more time. Okay, so there's a bunch more math questions, some more reading questions, and then there's the essay that's optional, about 50 minutes, okay? So that's kind of what you're dealing with when you switch from the PSAT to the SAT. But still, the types of questions, the geometry or the algebra or the fundamental math or the grammar, parallelism or misplaced modifiers, that kind of content is going to remain the same, okay, except for the essay. So that's kind of what you're going to move into, but that's why this is so great. It gives you that practice before you actually have to take it and put it on your record and take it for real, okay? So again, the score range is different. Now the PSAT is a little less challenging, and again, for the 9th graders, it's even less challenging than the 10th and 11th grader one, just because of you haven't had that information. Yes, another question from somebody. Here we go. If a freshman takes the PSAT this year, are they allowed to take it again in their junior year? You'll actually be allowed to take it your sophomore year and your junior year. So you'll take it over the next 3 years, which again will be great practice. The more testing or the practice testing you take, it's going to help with you being familiar with the exam. So I encourage you to do that. But don't think taking the PSAT and the PSAT alone is enough for you to make huge jumps in your score. Now, you will do it from freshman to sophomore year and sophomore to junior. You probably see a good amount of jumps in your score, but don't wait from junior to senior year. That's not when you want to wait till you actually take the SAT. And we'll talk about your timeline in a little bit. So yes, you can take it again, PV, all right? All right, so again, the SAT, going back, is a little bit harder than the PSAT, and it's a little bit longer. That's what you need to know. But your score is not going to matter right now. It matters what you do with it. Now, let me talk to you about why students struggle on some of these exams, like the SAT or the ACT, which is another entrance exam that you could use instead of the SAT. But why do students struggle on it? And I used to be a high school teacher, and so I know how I gave the test, and I also teach SAT and ACT and PSAT. So this is what I found to be true over the many, many years. That first of all, the timing is that on one of these standardized tests, it's very speeded in that there's time pressures, okay? On high school tests, and I know when I was a teacher, I want my kids to finish the test. It's pretty generous. We don't give you 100 questions and, in 20 minutes or 50 or even 30 minutes, okay? So these type of tests are designed so you can't finish or you have to rush to finish them. Okay, so be expecting that might happen for you. If it does, not to worry. One of the things you'll have to work on is getting your speed up, and that takes practice. And that's why I say practice, it breeds familiarity, as well as the confidence and the speed. Your test writers, one of the differences, you know your teachers, you know what they're going to give you on their test typically. These test writers, you don't know. Okay, they're not your teachers. They're professional test writers. The content on these exams, like the PSAT or even the SAT, it covers years, okay? In high school, it's just going to cover one chapter, maybe what you did, all right, or one half a semester, not years. So the math we're talking about, you've had stuff from algebra, stuff from geometry, stuff from 7th and 8th grade, fundamental math, fractions, ratios. My kid is working on fractions now in 5th grade. You're going to have fractions on there, okay? So it covers years, the content. But your high school test, it just covers the here and the now. Again, high pressure, you have to, your ability to perform in that time, okay? Usually in high school, it's about content knowledge, okay? And so some of the other things, again, the math is over 4 years, and usually math in high school is only a short time frame. So again, these are why students struggle. The language as well. The language is very different. Your high school tests are very socialized, and here the language, you go like, that sounds weird for a math question, and it looks odd to you, even though it might cover the same content. Okay, so understand you might struggle on this test. It's okay. Okay, it's okay. What you need to learn is how to perform better on these tests, and you might need some preparation. Or, as the person asked before, if you do well on it and you're in the range you want to be, then go in and take it and be done with it, okay? In the scheme of things, this is only one piece of a test that you might need for college. okay? Not every school even requires the SAT. You know, if you go to junior college, community college, you won't even need the exam, okay? All right, so let me talk a little about some quick test taking tips, okay? So again, this orientation isn't meant to, I know hopefully my juniors aren't here going, well, Anthony, you need to teach me how to get a better score on the PSAT, and I'm not gonna do that tonight, but I will give you a couple tips, okay? And talk a little bit about that because I want you to, again, be familiar with it. So number one, just quick test taking tips is the content on the exam. And I talked a little bit about that. There's going to be, for example, on the math side of things, you're going to have your algebra. You're going to have some geometry, ratios, fractions. And there's stuff called low-hanging fruit. Now, if you just join my Twitter or Instagram, I even put something on here last week about low-hanging fruit. This is the stuff that you can easily get. You know that information, and it's a simple question for you. You got to go grab it and answer that question and get those points, okay? That's number one. Each test has easy points to be had. On the PSAT, there's some questions that are easy points. If you focus on the basics and get those easy points, you'll do decent on the test, okay? So get those opportunities that you don't need a lot of effort on. Now, there'll be some that are harder, okay? But don't rush to get to the hard questions. Make sure you got the easy ones right, because accuracy is more important. I always say accuracy reigns supreme, okay? That means make sure you get the ones you know how to get and get them right. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, it says POOD. Okay, so when you approach this, we call that personal order of difficulty. Okay, now when we actually do a test prep session or you come to my college fair session, I'll actually show you actual questions and what I mean by that. Okay. Oh, actually, heck, I'm sharing my screen. I can pull up an actual test right now. So let's do that. Let's escape. Let me stop sharing. Let me give you, all right, so let me pull up a test here and show you what I mean. All right, give me 1 second and I will show you an example. All right, so let's just say, let me share my screen again. So bear with me. So again, it's easier if I was doing a session and I was geared to that, but now that I'm talking about it, I feel like I want to show you something. Okay. And thank you, Anne-Marie. All right, here we go. So I'm going to share and show you just a book that I use. This is a test prep book. Some of my friends, I used to help write some books like this. I'm a testing geek, by the way. I love this stuff. So let me just show you math, because usually math's a little bit easier to show. So hopefully, hopefully you can see my screen. I'm gonna make it smaller here. Okay, so these are test questions. So let's show you math, because these are show. So I said personal order of difficulty, and what I mean by that, let's get to some math questions. All right, so here we go. So math, for example, there we go. All right, so in math, it's about personal order of difficulty is about doing the questions. Like if you hate geometry, don't do those questions first. You can take the test any which way you want. So if you see, for example, let's see a simple question like this, you know, with simple fractions or something of this nature, do that one first. You know, these are just more. Okay, here's a question. Perfect. So for example, this one here, if x is greater than 0, which of the following is equivalent to that? If that looks like gibberish to you, skip it. Skip number 14. Okay, move to a question that you understand better. And so maybe that one you don't like, and you realize, oh, I like this word problem. Or maybe you hate word problems. Skip that one. Do the problems that you find easier. or the content you find easier. Like I said, if you don't like geometry, then skip geometry. And if you like algebra better, then do the algebra problem. So that's personal order of difficulty. You don't have to go in the order that it's given, okay? So especially on the math. So personal order of difficulty is really key. So again, you're going to take that with a grain of salt because there's so much more to that, but I'm just kind of giving you a little tip. So when you take your test, do the questions you like. For example, in the reading section, I hate accept questions when they give you they give you the passage, they give you a reading question and it says accept, all of these accept this. Well, one, I have to check all the answers out and I'm not very good at those accept questions. I don't do those at all, actually. I just kind of guess and move on. It just takes me too long, okay? So that's what I mean by personal order of difficulty, okay? All right, I'm going to show you back to the slide. I'm going to answer it. Got some questions coming in, which is great. So I'm going to get back to my PowerPoint here. All right, let me take a couple questions here. All right, so let's see. Oh, and share my screen. Don't mind me. This technology is always a interesting one. Okay. All right, so I'm back on my screen. And here's some questions. Generally, as a freshman or sophomore, which 4+ years of math is on the P? Oh, okay. Somebody wants to know what kind of math is on the PSAT. Which 4+ years of math is on it? Again, this is public knowledge. You can look it up, but you're talking fundamental math. You're talking basic math, algebra, some geometry, stuff you've had 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. So ratios, proportions, there's some charts and graphs, there's averages, mean, median, and mode. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. You can look that up. So, but it's not calculus or pre-calc, and there's no, real high order trigonometry or anything like that. So it's basic stuff. And if you're a freshman, again, the PSAT 9 is going to be more applicable, okay? What does aggressively desocialized? What is that? It means that basically it talks to you in a way that you don't fully understand. Socialized is, when you talk, just think about talking to your friends and family and how you talk to them. It's easy to understand. On these tests, sometimes they're asking you something and you're not really sure what they're asking you. It's more complicated, and sometimes you got to read between the lines and what are they really asking. So that's what makes it tough on these tests. Now, when I was a math teacher in high school, I would just come out and just say what I wanted. Again, that's a school test. These tests, they're not as socialized like that, okay? Okay, great question. Strategy question. Do you get penalized for guessing? Fantastic, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, which I will get to. So let's talk about your approach, okay? Taking the test on your own terms. So I'll get to some of those questions because I'm going to hit that in a second. And what I mean by taking it on your own terms, another way of, answering the questions you like better first. It's also when you get some reading passages, doing the passages you like first. Or again, your own personal order of difficulty, doing geometry or doing algebra over geometry. That's number one. Another approach is the guessing. Somebody asked on the SAT, is each question worth the same amount of points? Yes. So you're better off doing the questions that are easier than harder. Now, the reason you take a practice test is so you start to understand what questions are easy and hard. The more you get familiar with it, the more you'll understand it. I can look at a test and tell you which questions are hard by the way they ask it. If there's a 6-sentence word problem, it's going to be a harder question. It gets pretty obvious the more you see these questions, and I've been looking at it for 20 years. So again, they're each worth the same amount of points, so do the ones that are going to be easier for you first and make sure you get those right. Okay, because a lot of kids spend a lot of time on the hard ones and they're going to get them wrong, and they're worth the same amount of points. So great question. Will the test be on paper or computer? The test is on computer, Eric. Okay. Hey, Gerald, we had you last night, Sunday night. So, um, great question. Points taken away for wrong answers? No. Everything you get graded on is you get a point for getting one right. Okay, there's no points for wrong answers. So, with that said, you should always guess. So, all my students here, there should be no blank answers. When you get your score reports back in December, for everybody attending tonight, there should be no blanks. If you leave a blank, you're leaving points on the table. Okay. Now, there's other strategy I'm not going to go into because I just don't have the time. But sometimes you shouldn't even be attempting problems. That's different than actually putting an answer down. Again, some kids spend too much time on the hard questions that probably they shouldn't even be attempting and just guessing for an answer. Okay. Okay, great question, Gerald. Amy, how is the test graded? Similar to the SAT? Yes. You don't get marked down for skipping a question, but you don't lose any points. Always guess an answer. Always put an answer down. So LOTD, if you guys see that here. So my LOTD right there, that's letter of the day, okay? You should go in with your letter of the day. For example, mine is A. So if I didn't get to a question, there's 10 seconds to go and I have 5 more to go, I go A. If I've eliminated A, which is process elimination, is another approach to help you get close to the answer, then I go closest to A, which is B. Okay, so Amy, you should always guess. Excuse me while I take some water. But very good question. All right, so somebody's asking about the SAT. We're not talking about it, but the SAT is on paper, not on computer. We're not going to talk about the SAT essay either and how it's graded because we're on the PSAT and there's no essay. But you should attend one of my other sessions on the SAT. Are you required to finish all the questions? No, you're not required to do it, but I would answer every single question. There's a difference. POE means process of elimination. It's when you eliminate answer choices. For example, I'll give you an example, and I'll do it out loud because I don't have a slide on it. All right, I'm going to give you a multiple choice question, Giovanna Vic. What is the capital of Malawi? Okay, now, here we go. Well, I don't know that. And if somebody knows it, don't answer it. Raise your hand if you know the answer to that. Now you can't do process elimination just yet, but now I'm going to give you answer choices. A, Paris. B, New Jersey. C, London. D, Washington, D.C. E, Lilongwe. Okay, so now do process elimination. And this is what makes these multiple choice tests so great. You can eliminate wrong answers, okay, to find the right answer. Okay, so that's a technique or a strategy you want to employ on a test like this, okay? So Alan, we don't get penalized for guessing, going back to your question. And yes, you want to answer when you're running out of time. And I say letter of the day when you're running out of time. So pick it. You might have C, some people like D. Like I said, I have A. So answer every single question. I don't recommend attempting every single question because maybe you don't have the speed and the level of knowledge for those questions, but you should answer every question. So that's different strategically. Okay, guys? So great questions. Let me just check. I think I hit them all. Awesome. All right, so back to quick test taking tips. So that's letter of the day and process elimination. Hopefully that answered or you now understand process elimination. Come to some of my strategy sessions. Again, the one that I do at the College Fair, October 30th at Capo Valley High School. I'll actually show you lots of problems where we actually show you some strategy. And then here's some stuff. When you get your results back, guys, and we have a follow-up session, I'll be talking more about this stuff. So my freshman and sophomore, you can come to those sessions, and I encourage you to do that. There's nothing you need to do, but part of it is when you get your results back, you'll be able to find out what content you did well on. For example, maybe you're really bad at grammar, I don't know, or certain types of reading questions, or certain types of math content, you'll be able to find that out, and then you'll be able to know what you need to work on and fix, okay? You can work and perfect your strategy, which we talked about, cross elimination and personal order of difficulty, how you guess. That's some strategy. How was your approach on the test? We won't know till we get your results. But again, going in cold and just taking it is fine. We don't need to perfect it now. We just need to know what we're doing on these tests. And it's just going to give us a good indication where we're at and where our baseline is. And then you'll learn some methods to actually solving the questions when you learn what kinds of questions you miss. And then it's going to be about a lot of practice and analyzing the practice, and then just building your confidence and endurance. So all this stuff is when we get our results back and we look at the tests, okay, again, the benefit of the PSAT is you're going to get your results online. You'll be able to look up all your answers, what the correct answers are, be able to break everything down, and I'll show you how to do that. And it's going to give us really some great insight into your strengths and weaknesses. So it's really important that, again, you follow up, especially my juniors, okay? Because you might be taking your tests sooner than later. Again, I don't know when you are. If you guys are taking it sooner, then come to my sessions at the college fair, okay? So again, some of those resources that are going to be after you take your test, we're going to have an in-person event at 2 of the high schools that you can go to either one. That'll be in January. I'm going to do a webinar just like this on how to interpret your scores, so you can come to the in-person one, or if you like these webinars, you can come to those. I'm going to record a video and record the webinar so you can watch it back if you want to understand how do you read a report, or you can schedule a one-on-one appointment with myself or my counselors, and we can kind of look at some of that stuff, or what you want to do as a junior, what kind of prep you might need. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to be right on our website right here. Okay, so I would highly recommend checking it out for anything coming up about the PSAT follow-up, or what I'm going to call PSAT Now What, and your next steps for that. Okay, so take a look there, and you'll be able to see some of those. How many times can you take the PSAT per year? Once or more? Well, first of all, you take it once. It's in October at your school, okay? I wouldn't recommend any more, okay? Because once you take the PSAT, okay, now, my anonymous, I'd love to know if you're a junior, sophomore, or freshman. So my freshman, you take it in October of your freshman year. You'll take it in your sophomore year, and then you'll take it in your junior year. Now, the key, and we'll talk about it in timeline in a little bit, is what you do between your sophomore and your junior year, okay? So how many times should you take the PSAT? You're only going to take it once every year, okay? My juniors, this is your last time. The juniors are going to take the PSAT, not the PSAT 10, Amy, but you're not going to be qualified for the National Merit. It's the same test. The PSAT and the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test is the same one. You're just not doing the PSAT 10, which is a little different. The scoring is a little different. But you're not doing that. I wouldn't be worrying about, am I taking this one? Just go in and take it. Don't get caught up on all that stuff. Just go in and take it. I wouldn't get caught up in, oh, there's 5 questions fewer. Not a big deal. Just go in and take it. Yeah, here's the schedule for it's not academic programs. So right here on the website, so someone's asking me, where can I find the schedule for your academic programs? I don't know if I call them academic programs. These are just our services for college and career counseling. We run group workshops. We have one-on-ones. If you go here, CUSD-Futureology.org/appointments-events, you'll find all the events that we have, and you'll find the ability to sign up for a one-on-one. Now, we're reserving one-on-one appointments this fall for just seniors and juniors, because there's only a couple of us counselors. And for my freshmen and sophomores, you'll be able to come in and have a one-on-one in the spring. But everybody can come to any of our events we have. So I recommend, and I highly recommend those. And this is separate or as a complement to what's going on at your high school. There's a lot of high school things happening. So you guys should go to those, your sophomore nights or your junior nights and all those other things that are happening, okay? Okay, so here's what I recommend, okay? Here's some of my recommendations, all right? So for my, again, I mentioned this earlier, the SAT is just one of the entrance exams for college admissions. Okay, it's the SAT or the ACT, folks. You can take one or the other. I don't recommend both. Okay, so you are taking the PSAT. So that's like taking a practice SAT. So you'll have scores for this. So what I'm recommending is you take a practice ACT. So if you're a freshman, you're not doing anything for a couple years. For my sophomores, you should take this practice ACT by June and then compare your scores. For my juniors, as soon as possible, and we can compare your old PSAT score from last year, okay? And what we want to find out is which test did you perform better on, okay? And we're going to look at a concordance table. Let's see if I have one. For example, this. I'll show you an example. So let's just say you scored a 1200 on your PSAT, which is equivalent to your SAT score at 1200. Using a chart like this, as simple as this is, and let's say I scored a 28 on my ACT practice test. And I go here, look, there I am. Wow, I favor the ACT. And that's why we take a practice test. So the PSAT is a practice test. You take a practice ACT, which you actually can get from our website. My freshman and sophomore, you're not doing anything right now. My juniors, yes, right now would be great. And then we compare your score. If you favor the ACT, then moving forward, you should just prepare and get ready for that test, because colleges will accept either one. Now, some of you came to my session on Sunday, my parent Q&A, I was saying the same thing. So when you compare your scores, we can determine which test you're better suited for. And by the way, here's when the tests are offered. SAT is offered these times, and ACT is offered these times, okay? So that's my recommendation, is to compare the scores. If there was no difference, you fall in that gray area, which looks like this, the judgment call, then which test did you like better, okay? And then once you have that, you can make a prep plan that matches your goals of the colleges you're interested in. So again, my freshman, you're doing nothing till the end of your sophomore year to take a practice ACT. It's just take the PSAT now, take it again next October, and then in the spring of your sophomore, you're taking a practice ACT. Hopefully by that time, by the time my freshmen or sophomores, will actually have something instituted in the district where you can take a mock ACT at your school. And you might already have that. For my juniors, you're determining that as soon as you can, because you don't want to be going back and forth and taking both tests, okay? All right. And then once the other recommendation I have is that you link your College Board and Khan Academy accounts when you get your scores back, and that's free, okay? Because if you're gonna go down the path for SAT, especially my juniors, you can start doing some free practice there, okay? One caveat is understand that every type of prep is different based on your goals, what works best for you, what your preferences and modality is, what your schedule's like. So make sure you plan appropriately, okay? I got a few questions in. How do you link the accounts? Really simple. That again will be the interpretation nights. If you already took it last year, you should be able to link them from last year. But it's really simple. You go to Khan Academy, there's an opportunity, it's clicking a few buttons. So if you go to Khan Academy and you go to College Board, they'll have information on that. But again, at our interpretation night, I'll walk people through it a little bit. What do SAT and ACT stand for? It actually stands for nothing. It used to stand for an achievement test, but they got rid of the naming for it. It's just SAT and ACT. So freshmen should not take the practice ACT coming up. I don't know which practice ACT you're referencing. So my anonymous person, which one are you referencing? Now, if your school's offering a practice ACT or an Aspire test, that might be different. So I'm not sure what you're referencing and what school you're talking about. So if you can clarify, then I can help you out. practice ACT at Tesoro in October. You're a freshman, I wouldn't take that. It's too early for you. If it's a mock exam that you pay for through your school, that's the one I'm talking about. If it's the like the Aspire or the plan, well, the plan, it used to be called the plan, that's a different. So again, to be clear, if you can give me more information on that, is it through an outside prep agency? Are you paying for that out of your own pocket? Can you give me a little more information? So I want to make sure I direct you properly. But my recommendation is you don't need that. And I probably wouldn't do that as a freshman. If you're a sophomore and you're at Tesoro and they have a practice ACT, you could do that now. That's fine. But they'll probably offer it again in the spring. So I would probably wait. I would want you to get your, Saturday at Tesoro had to pay. I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I'm not trying to not have them make some money or anything like that, but you don't need it. You're a freshman. Okay, so all my freshmen out there, you don't need it now. And my sophomores, I would wait till the spring if you can. So they'll have another time at Tesoro where they do that. So I would do it at a later time. See if you can move your money then. I would focus, the most important thing right now for my freshmen and sophomores is get good grades right now. Okay, that's going to go a longer way anyway. Molly, how do I find out when my school practice ACT is? Not all schools have that, so I don't know. You'll have to go in and check in with your academic advisor or your school, go into guidance. Not all of them do. If you're a junior and you need to take one, well, Tesoro has one in October, it looks like. And if you shoot me an email and you're a junior and you really want to get one, I can get you my hands on one for you. Okay, good questions. Are there any practice PSAT tests on Khan Academy? There are practice SAT tests on Khan Academy. I don't think they released any PSAT tests. And there's just practice questions and drills. Again, I wouldn't prep for the PSAT unless you know you're going to be in the, like you would know if you're in the range for, if you're a junior and you're in the range for national merit based on your results from last year. So if you're at a high enough score, then potentially you're probably looking at about a 223, if that makes sense to you. And if it doesn't, then I probably wouldn't be doing any prep for that. Okay. Okay, so kind of wrapping up here because we're almost hitting an hour here. Great questions, keep them coming. So since we're talking about SAT, ACT, I just kind of want to give you a sense of, they are different tests, but a lot of the topics, the core of the topics are very similar on both. But that's why I recommend a practice one, just to see the difference. There's a science section on the ACT that's not on the SAT. There's a few questions sprinkled through the SAT. So for my juniors here, again, determining which one you're better suited for. Again, a lot of the topics are the same, but there are some differences. On the ACT, the timing is a little bit tougher, meaning you have less time per question, okay? Here were the test dates again. So my freshmen and sophomores, there's nothing you need to do. My sophomores now, as we kind of move into a timeline, my sophomores, so here you are sophomores, in the summertime, if you were looking right here in the middle, by June, as I said, take a practice ACT, because ideally, if you've taken the right math, algebra 1, basic geometry, and you're thinking, and you kind of know some colleges, you might be, you're thinking you might go to a decent college of some sort, prepping in the summer is always a good way to go. There's a July ACT, which is new, there's a August SAT, September ACT, and October SAT. So prepping in the summer when you're not in school is always a great way to not have to have anything interrupt your prepping, as well as anything interrupting your schoolwork, because your school and your grades are still the most important factor in college admissions. So summertime would be great for those. For my juniors, if you miss that mark, what you need to do is find the time where you're going to have the most time to get ready for it if you need prep. As I mentioned earlier, if you did well on the PSAT last year and you're happy with your score, then go in and take it then. You won't need to do anything, okay? Okay. Oh, the practice ACTs at stores in September. Oh, great. I'm seeing this on there. So if you guys are taking the practice ACT in addition to the PSAT, some schools offer something like that. You should take it. You know, if it's offered at your school, it doesn't hurt. I just wouldn't be going through outside companies and kind of going on your own and taking it at a time. If it's offered through your school, um, and it's not one of those um, outside prep companies, I would do it if you're a junior. If my freshman and sophomore, I'd still hold off. Okay. Um, and great, one of our advisors is telling us in the chat that we haven't offered the practice ACT at their schools. I don't have, what I have available online is I have a practice ACT, not one of the shorter versions like the Aspire. I have a practice ACT online, yes. So if you do call her in tomorrow, you can show her that on our website. So thank you, Anne-Marie. Excellent. I love it when everybody's contributing here. Okay, another question coming in. If a freshman can take the SAT during 9th grade, do colleges consider their score? Great question. There's typically not a time limit per se on that. I don't know if I would take it 9th grade unless you're scoring in the range you want to score in already. I've recommended for some sophomores go in and take it because they were where they needed to be. But there's really nothing kind of prohibiting you to kind of doing that and putting that on your record, but I don't know if I would do that. So I would say take your PSAT, see how you score, and if you're in a great range and it's in the range where your schools are looking for and you're in the top 10% of those schools, then sure, why not? All right, are Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 the only math topics covered? No, they're not. Again, everything's public knowledge. Like I said, there's ratios, proportions. There's a whole bunch of stuff, little smaller things. There's sequences and series and, as I said, mode, medium. There's a lot of things, statistics, some basic stuff. But some of the concepts, there's only a question or two. You know, there's not that many. So again, you have to look at all the topics covered. And that's part of the research. That's part of the preparing for this stuff. And you have to learn that content. So. Okay, so I have another question. This is about the timeline. Does the junior panel mean the summer after the junior year, August, September? No, the junior panel means August, September of your junior year, not the summer. It's the summer before your junior year. So ideally, if you can take your first test in that summer, so this summer panel here, right here is the sophomore. So freshman, sophomore, this is sophomore summer before junior year. So this is what you're trying to do in the summer before junior year. And ultimately right here, if you can take it for your first time, you're setting yourself up nicely, because if you want to take it a second time, and again, in the summer, if you're prepping, you're not mixing it with your school and your classes. If you take your test for the first time around here, you're deep in school and other things. Doesn't mean you can't do it here. It also depends on some of your goals. So some students are a little accelerated. They might do it here. Some might defer it over here because maybe they're only going to take it once. But if you're looking to take it multiple times, starting earlier in your junior is ideal. Okay, and having first exposure in the summer before junior year. Okay, that's kind of where this panel is leading. And then when you're a senior, you can retake it if necessary. So the summer after junior year, before senior year, you might retake it. I don't like people retaking their senior year. That means they didn't do it properly the first time. But if the summer again before senior year is ideal to get some more prep time in, then do it. But a lot of times, if some people are taking 3 and 4 times by this time, they're making a last-ditch effort, but they're not putting in the time and energy. You're better off served forgetting the test and moving on to applications, essays, recommendation, all the other things that are necessary. Okay, so I usually tell people to avoid senior year testing. Okay, so other questions. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to questions. And again, if you have a follow-up question, you can reach out to me. Here's my email. For events, additional events, I'm going to go put back this site right here. Okay. All right, so with that said, questions. More questions from you guys. I know I went fast. I wanted to finish in that hour and open it up for questions. So I've got one question here, and it's about what materials do I recommend that help prepare for the PSAT that's found outside? Again, there's Khan Academy. So if you guys took the PSAT last year, you still have access to that through the College Board. You can go through Khan Academy, link your accounts. Okay. If you're a 9th grader and a 10th grader, I don't recommend prepping at all. If you're an 11th grader, if you haven't done anything at this point, and you know your PSAT from last year and you're not even close to the range of national merit, I wouldn't prep either. Okay. If you're prepping for an SAT this fall, whether it be October or November already, prepping for the SAT is going to help you for the PSAT. So again, that's kind of my mentality on that. I wouldn't go overboard trying to prep for something that all you're needing to do is just try it. Okay, so that's what my recommendation would be. This will be recorded, guys, so if you go back online, you'll be able to get a copy of the recording and watch this again. And then usually I'll send the resources in an email back for those people who attended and people who missed the session tonight. So I always do that. All right, other questions before I wrap up? Thank you for everybody for participating, asking very poignant questions, even questions about your situation, especially when we have a smaller audience, about under 50 or so. I'm able to really hit all the questions and hopefully answer some stuff more specifically for your situation, whether you should do something or not, and kind of give you some advice along the way. So this will conclude the PSAT orientation. And remember, there's some other, sorry, I'm laughing. Somebody made a funny comment. Yes, people have told me that I look like Adam Sandler. Yes, it's been said before. Not lately, though. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So you can let me know that later. You're welcome, everybody. So again, there's some other events coming up. I appreciate your time. And